guys, Tam here from Yoga Physio. I'm going to take you through a little core stability routine. We'll start just with some basics that we've covered already down on the floor, and then we'll build up to something a little bit more functional. So if you want to Okay, so first of all we want to establish that neutral position of the spine and the pelvis. So just rocking over the surface of the sacrum. If your pelvis was a clock face, the tail would be 6 o'clock, the top of the sacrum 12 o'clock. So you just want to find that neutral position where it actually feels like you've got the pelvis pressing down at 6 o'clock, and you can see the hand can pass easily under that neutral lordosis. Okay, pelvic floor engaged, lower abdomen in. Now we're going to race into something quite strong. If this is too much, then return to the basic core stability video. Okay, feel the pelvic floor drawing up, particularly the front side of the pelvic floor. Okay, and then we're going to lift the legs up and just holding the legs. So you see, as I took my legs up, there's no movement of my pelvis or spine. Okay, so that's first kind of level to work with. Just being able to move the legs while containing the pelvis. So you could stay with that if you like, that's not too hard. Or going to take one leg at a time in front. Okay, and I'm going to keep my hands on the front of my pelvis to monitor that there's any movement. Okay, and you can also feel if you're rolling to the side, you'll start to feel heavier on one side of the pelvis to the other. Now this straightening leg version also works your hip muscles, so that's okay. We can feel the hip tendons in the center of the groin there working. Okay, we want to keep the leg in a fairly neutral rotation so that the tensor fascia lata muscle on the outer groin there stays pretty relaxed. So our hip strength comes from the hip flexor, not the TFL. And as the leg straightens completely, feeling thigh muscles super strong. Got the capacity to straighten one leg completely. And I don't have the strength to do it, but maybe you do. You could take both legs out at the same time. I'm more concerned with the quality of the muscle action around the pelvis. I'm not so interested in maximizing strength, but if you're already very strong, feel free to do that. Okay, and I'm ready for a break. So relaxing down. Now we're just going to open the front of the hips and activate the back of the hips with a nice little bridge up now. Inhale up, exhale down. So that feels really nice now to open the front of the hips. It's also another position where the pelvic floor engages quite easily. So just feel that squeeze of the pelvic floor. Can engage the pelvic floor on the inhale, so we lift on an inhale and exhale down. Pelvic floor can be engaged whenever we want, okay, in asana or pranayama. And relaxing, and let's do another set of that. So establish that neutral spine, bring the legs up, and just working to your capacity. It may be it's not the abdominals that limit your straightening the leg. It might be that it's the hip flexors or the legs. Okay, and hip flexor muscles, in my experience, hip flexors are often weak more than they're tight. They can be tense, and they can be tense and weak. We'll take a look at the hip mobility in a moment. So fully concentrated, pelvic floor up by 10%, lower abdomen in by 10%, and you'll feel the other top tummy muscles working because of the strength of this action. Always good to do a few extra on a weaker side. Okay, and relaxing. In between activating the muscle, making sure we relax it completely. So relaxing pelvic floor, relaxing lower abdomen, relaxing abdomen in general, relaxing the front of the hips. If you like, you can bridge up again, lengthen through the front of the hips. Okay, we're actually going to coming now into a lunge. So come over to hands and knees. And just have a nice little stretch out in down dog, just for a minute. We'll give a little bit more attention to the technique of down dog in a moment, but just enjoying a nice little stretch out. And then bring the right leg forward. Now you don't need to use bricks, but they just enable a little bit more height for the spine. So whether the hips are tight or just tense, it does feel nice to lengthen them out, particularly after contracting them in that abdominal stability. We can mobilise the femoral nerve here, because if you've got tension, mobilising the nerve might be more effective in releasing the tension than stretching the hip flexor excessively. So I keep my hip in a neutral or extended position, and I'm cat-cowing the spine to just mobilise that nerve through the interface of the front of the hip. We want that nice and free for our next position. Okay, let's change sides. So I'm a little bit tighter this side, but I mean generally that's 5 degrees extension, 5-10 degrees extension sufficient for the hip. If you see hip tightness, it looks more like this, that you just can't get that bit further. But I've really got the tensor fasciae lata is actually limiting me more. You can see that tendency to rotate out. Now I'm stretching the groin, but if you keep yourself in neutral, a little bit of bias to the outer hip, you'll feel the tensor fasciae lata. And that and the side of the leg might offer more resistance to that lunge position. Let's come back into mobilising the femoral nerve. Oh, and this is definitely tighter this side. Exhale, rounding the back. Inhale, arching the back. Just gently sliding that nerve through the interfaces, the hip. Okay, lovely. Let's step back to hands and knees. Pop our bricks to the side. Okay, so coming into hands and knees, hands a little bit ahead of the shoulders, a little bit wider than the shoulders. And let's just give a little attention to the stability around the wrists and the shoulders now. So first of all, align your hands so that the crease of the wrist is parallel to the front of the mat. Elbow creases facing each other. So it's kind of like a neutral rotation for the arm. Now the postural muscles of the hand are in the palm. So ground down the ball of the index finger, the ball of the fingers in general, but particularly the ball of the index finger, which tends to come up. And you can ground down the base of the thumb. So really feel those muscles in the hand. The muscles that operate the fingers are in the forearm, so we want to keep the fingers relaxed and really work on the palmar contact of the hands with the floor. Okay, now push the back of the chest up into the shoulder blades, so we want this feeling of engagement between the back of the chest and shoulder blades. And we're going to maintain that as we lift one leg at a time. Inhale up, exhale down, so just moving in and out of it a few times, just to get that feeling of stability in the arms and shoulders. So there's a little bit of sideways movement across the hands. All right, all nice and loosened up, so let's give the wrists a bit of a turn, give the hands a break. So you can really work those muscles in the hands quite a lot, and I can actually feel a weakness side to side. This left side is weaker, so perhaps you also notice some asymmetry. All right, let's come back to hands and knees. Establish that palmar contact of the foot, the hands with the floor. Elbow creases parallel, facing each other. And now we're going to lift the right leg and we're going to hold the leg. Okay, pelvis parallel to the floor. Just holding the leg there nice and straight and strong. Now you can stay with that, rest and repeat, or take the heel into the buttock. And maybe just moving in and out of it a few times. So you really feel the arms are strong. You're pushing the back of the chest up into the shoulders. Continue with that, rest and repeat, or open out to the side now. So we're turning the pelvis out to the side, lifting the knee up and back. And that foot is kind of carrying up like you're trying to take the foot to the back of your head. Gazing up or down as suits your neck. So this is actually quite hard to do, to keep that knee up. Frequently I see this. So really try to open. And then unwinding, straightening out the leg, and lower the knee to the floor. And let's take rest for a moment in child pose. Important not to overdo it from the point of view of the wrists and hand here. They need rest probably as much as the leg does, if you're really working your arms well. Okay, inhale, come back up. Establish the upper body stability. And now lifting the left leg. Pointing the toes down sometimes helps to straighten the knee, to really activate those muscles in the leg. So you can stay there, concentrate on bringing the pelvis parallel to the floor. Okay, or heel to bum, heel to bum. Continue with that. You can rest and repeat any of these positions, or keeping the heel into the buttocks now, opening out to the side, lifting that left knee up and back. And now you can see it from behind. So we're really lengthening out through the front of the lifting leg. Lengthening through the front of the hip, down to the knee. and activating the muscles of stability in the hip and a few others as well. And then unrolling, straightening the leg out, and lower the knees together and relaxing child pose. Just resting the wrists. Feeling the breath gently in the back of the body, relaxing the neck and shoulders. And inhale, come back to hands and knees. Now, if what you've just done felt like enough, then just repeat that each side. Okay, or if you tighten your hamstrings, this next movement's a little bit difficult, but you can keep your knees a little bit bent. The legs that are on the floor, the knee of the grounded leg can be a little bit bent. So basically going to do the same thing from down face dog. Okay, so I'm just going to demonstrate with bent knees. Okay, so lifting the right leg nice and high again. Okay, and you're trying to keep that leg straight. Okay, so bending the grounded leg will enable you to lift the lifting leg higher. Once again, we can play with bending and straightening the leg. And then staying with that, or heel to buttock and opening out to the side. Now, just as we did on the floor, trying to keep that knee nice and high, lengthening through the front of the hip, down the thigh to the knee. Give attention also to the grounded leg. Watch the tendency of the knee to drop in. Keep the left outer thigh tucking back. So you're really opening really firmly through the groin. Strong arms. And then unwinding. Pelvis comes parallel to the mat. Straighten the leg out. Reaching up. And exhale, lowering down. And we'll take rest again in child pose. Okay, and then final side. Hands firm, elbow creases facing each other. Stay on hands and knees and repeat the hands and knees version, or come with me up to down dog. Stretch out through the shoulders. And then lifting the left leg, lifting it high, keep the pelvis parallel to the floor. Heel to buttock, bending and straightening that leg. Keep lifting high. Stay with that, rest and repeat. Or heel to buttock and opening out to the side. So perhaps you see now the tendency to collapse. Okay, or keeping that outer right buttock lifted. And then unwinding. And lower the leg. And relaxing down, relaxing child pose. Okay, we might finish with a nice, gentle gomakasana. So if long, so you can down to the side there, right leg on front of right leg on top of left. Right leg on top. We've got top of the right knee. Your sitting bar. With the right leg on top, we're going to stretch the left arm up, elbow up, back and behind, gently assisting with the other arm. Keep the lower ribs gently tucked in. Breathing through the length of the spine. And on an exhale, we'll twist to the right side. So keep this right shoulder nice and open. You're breathing up into the chest. It's a lengthening twist. Gaze out over the back shoulder. Relaxed abdominal breathing. Okay, now before we come back to the front, let's bring the right hand behind the back. You're trying to take your hand to that shin or thigh maybe. Okay, and we're going to turn back to the front. Just gently roll that right shoulder. Okay, so sometimes the tightness in the front of the chest here inhibits taking that hand behind the back. Otherwise, it's just simply a matter of internally rotating the arm. Okay, so sliding the hand up the back. If the hands meet, then you can bring them into the bind, full gomakasana. Magic to happen. Now with the hands in the waist and roll the right shoulder. Taking a strap is not going to increase your ability to get into the pose. You can injure the shoulder if you've not got the technique right. Generally, we need to be drawing the whole of the arm bone back. In fact, the elbow presses forward. Okay, they're very small muscles in the shoulder. It's very easy to aggravate the tendons of those muscles. Okay, release the hands and fold forward. Nice gentle opening now through the hips. Coming forward from the tail, not collapsing in the middle. And if coming forward very comfortably, to support your head on a brick. Feeling the breath in the back of the body. Okay, inhale and come up. Change the legs. Left leg on top. Take a moment to feel into the hips. Just noticing any asymmetry. Feeling a little tighter in this right hip. Okay, with left leg up, right hand on top of the left hand, relaxing for a moment. Just feeling into the body. Feeling the asymmetry of the pose and noticing any asymmetry in the body. Comparing side to side. And then we'll stretch the right arm up, drop the hand behind the shoulder, assist that elbow up, back and down. Sitting gently on the edge of the opening, just allowing the opening to come through persistence, not force. And exhale, release and turn to the left side. Gaze out over the back shoulder, feel the breath coming into this left side of the chest, relaxed abdominal breathing otherwise. And then before we turn back to the front, whipping this left arm behind the back, sticking a leg or something to hang on to, really open into this deep, it's the pec minor muscle that attaches to the scapula there and limits. Back to the front. Ideally the shoulder stays back, but we press the elbow forward a little and sneak the hand up the back into the rotated hand behind. And then if it's available, hands come together. If not, focus on the lower arm. So no point, if the hands don't come together, you never force that. Just keep the hands in the side of the waist and work to loosen this area, which is the area that resists coming into the full gomukhasana. Sometimes it's the tighter up to upper arm, but if you're doing down face dog fairly comfortably, the upper arm usually has the range of movement. And then when you're ready, releasing the arms and folding forward. And inhaling, coming up and relaxing. Let's take the legs out straight ahead of us. So we'll finish there. You may like to go on and do a little bit of meditation or another video. Otherwise, enjoy your day, moving out into the world with awareness and clarity through your yoga practice. Namaste.